Spring Breakers is a 2013 American crime film written and directed by Harmony Korine, starring James Franco, Selena Gomez, Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Benson, and Rachel Corrine.
Spring break.
Y'all want to die tonight?
Spring break.
Get down!
I'm scared, aren't you?
Spring break forever.
Spring break forever, bitches.
Look at my shit. Look at my shit. I got a sign back here. I got a sign that says now showing. I got a Laura Palmer right here as a reference. It says fire walk with me. Look at my shit. Look at my shit. Look at my shit. Look at my shit.
Look at my shit.
Welcome back to the Cult of Films. I'm John, the host, and today I'm joined by this gentleman, Mr. Coleman Yeti.
Look at my shit.
Was there any other way we could start this?
No, not at all.
Spring Breakers, a movie that kind of speaks for itself.
Spring break forever.
Well, John, my initial thoughts are spring break. Spring break.
Forever.
Spring break forever.
Spring break, bitches. Oh, boy.
That's what this movie's about. Before you ask me, this movie is about spring break.
Spring break.
Forever.
If I get corona, I get corona. At the end of the day, I'm not going to let it stop me from partying.
And my shit.
Bitches. Apparently life's about bikinis and big asses. I mean, this was such an eye-opening experience for me. I don't blush a lot. I've seen some shit. Look at my shit. I've seen some shit. I'm just going to jump right into it. I think that Harmony Korine, rightfully so, that name has a stigma to it, because this man is just a fucking lunatic. He is...
Yeah, I didn't realize this was him.
This is him. He did one of your favorite movies of all time, Coleman. Gummo.
What, Kids? Gummo, yeah.
Yeah.
Kids and Gummo.
Kids and Gummo. He wrote Kids when he was 19 years old. He made Gummo. I mean, if I was Harmony, I would be like, look at my shit. Just doesn't get old. It does. It really does. We'll try to curb that a little bit, but he is just a madman. He's a very different filmmaker. And I, aside from watching this movie a lot, watching it, rewatching it, because there's just a lot of layers to this film. I went down the Harmony Korine rabbit hole, and I just watched so many interviews with him.
Yeah, there was this sequence where they rob this like fat dude on the beach, and they make him drop his pants, and he has a huge, and then I think he gets aroused, and the girls just kind of like talk about it for a while to his face. It's pretty funny.
Wow. Yeah. Critics hate him. People just do not like him. They think he's a hack. I think he's cut from the same cloth as like a Gaspar Noé. This era that's doing these like exploitation films and these sexploitation films and these films that are just like vomiting horribleness in your face and force feeding you and making you be like, look at my shit. But in a way where like the rest of Hollywood, he just makes the rest of like Hollywood and other actors and other directors look so fucking boring. Smelling the farts of Harmony Korine so hard after this film. What do you think?
Well, it makes more sense now. What I just watched, I think that it was definitely, I mean, considering Kids and Gummo were both posed as like documentaries and documentary style in those movies. And so it definitely has more of a movie structure to it.
Yes.
Like more of a regular movie structure to it, for just gratuitously playing, topless girls over and over and over again.
But that's the point, right? Because at a point you're like, I'm watching a 90-minute porn, and I was so desensitized to areolas by the 30-minute mark. I was just like, I don't even care anymore. And that's what he was, I think. I don't know if I'm giving him too much credit, but I at least that's what he did for me, where it's just so much sensory overload, especially with the sex and the drugs and everything, you start like your brain starts forgetting what you're seeing. It's probably like how an ER doctor functions as like a
with trauma every day.
Exactly. And he captures that and he forces the audience, because what this movie is a fucking pop song. It has hooks. It has like almost no dialogue, except like the dialogue it has like repeats at certain points. So it has like, it plays like a song. It has bridges. It has a chorus.
Left me alone. 4 little girls, they came out to play. Now 4 little girls, it's here I will stay.
It's just so outside of what normal movie structure is that you just have to kind of let it wash over you. Where this is a film I think you have to pay attention to the first time you see it, and then after that you could just have it in the background like your fucking Spotify playlist while you're vacuuming. Like you could just have it on the background and you're just like picking up things subliminally. I don't know. I'm fooled. I think I'm just
You're like super into this. First off, I mean, kudos to Harmony Korine for getting all these names in this movie. Like, holy shit, considering what he did before, and the only big name, a couple big names, it was their launching pad. They weren't like Rosario Dawson and Chloe Sevigny.
Sure.
You know, from Kids, that's where we met those two. But this has a lot of like well-established names. Maybe not massive actors outside of Franco, because I think Vanessa Hudgens and Selena Gomez were mostly singers, aren't they?
Well,
I guess one of them was in High School Musical or some shit.
They were Disney Channel princesses.
Oh,
and that
okay.
was the point. It was the debauchery. It was the tearing down of the surface of those images.
Open your mouth. Open your mouth, bitch.
I think that this is a very a fun movie, again, in like the vein of the types of movies that we like to do on the channel, or at least you and I like to do. Mm-hmm. Franco took me out of it in every goddamn scene he was in.
Dark tannin oil. Lay out by the pool. Put on my dark tannin oil.
I just, like, Franco ruined this for me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because it's Franco, like, I feel like he was trying to play it more serious. And I just couldn't buy him as the white boy gangster, you know, whatever he was trying to play. Like, he didn't capture it at all. And then there's the little, I mean, the girls saying Spring Break Forever voiceover with that made a little more sense. Every time he did it, I'm like, God, I'm out of the movie again. His performance was hilarious. You know, the look at my shit.
Look at my shit.
Yeah. A Spring Break Forever. And then like him freestyling to these girls, just awful fucking rap. It's weird. Like I enjoyed it because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But certain parts, like his repetition through this shit got real old real fast.
I find your take on especially his performance so interesting because everyone at the time when this movie came out, because like I said, everyone was hating on Harmony Korine, but the few people that were in were really in. And so he had this like cult following as a filmmaker, but when this movie came out, they're just like, James Franco, a vision. Like he just changed the game. And I'm just like, couple years down the road, James Franco playing a sex pervert, not so far-fetched. He was kind of in his pocket, right? But I think I agree with you. I think that he is the weakest part of the film, although I don't think there's a weak part of the film. What he was just like, I don't want to rehearse. I just want to go in and like, Harmony Korine's just like, okay, so I was like, the night before we started doing principal photography for this, I was taking him around, because like Harmony grew up in this area. So he grew up knowing that, you know, there was this dark side to this tourist happenings that were going around. And he's just like, I had this image of girls in bikinis wearing ski masks, like robbing fat people on a beach for spring break. And I'm like, okay, so that's where the movie came from.
That sounds like how Harmony Korine would come up with the movie.
Exactly.
Years ago, I had a picture, an image of in my mind of like girls in bikinis and ski masks robbing fat tourists, and like, or just tourists on the beach, just walking down the shoreline with guns.
Exactly. So very, very much to form. But as far as like Franco goes, he was just like, okay, he was like taking him around all these spots. He was like, this is the high school you got kicked out of. This is the building where you killed your first person. And, fictionally, but he's trying to like put it in Franco's head, because Franco was like sitting in the back of the car and just like taking it all in. And he's like, okay, you want to like do a cold run through, or you want to rehearse a little bit with the girls? He's like, no, I got it. And so like, then he walked out, costume, and he's like, oh, we were all just blown away. I'm just like, riffraff exists in real life, and so do all of these other like Southern Tennessee, Florida rappers. It's just like, okay, so he watched a couple of videos and he embodied that. Like, I get into it all the fucking time with Jason. His mantra is acting is easy. And I'm like, I'm an actor. I don't see that. Acting's kind of hard sometimes. But when like Franco comes out and does this, I'm like, yeah, that's anyone could have fucking done Franco's role.
So the problem is it's ridiculous movie, right? And even though it's ridiculous, the other players play their parts well. All the girls play their parts well. Selena Gomez was a little weak, but she was also like the stick in the mud character friend, and she was supposed to be weak.
Right.
And I'm gonna be thinking about you when I'm with your friends, okay?
I think that Franco's role, and again, I enjoyed it because it was hilarious, but I don't think it was meant to be. I think that it needed to be played by someone, and you couldn't put a riffraff in this. Like, the difference between Franco's role and riffraff is riffraff knows he's fucking ridiculous.
Right.
Franco's trying to play this like gangster, and then just does and says the most ridiculous fucking shit. I believe Gucci Mane way more.
Oh, 100%.
as a thug.
Yeah. Because he is.
Yeah. And you have Franco, he's playing a riffraff that's supposed to be real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are like white boy gangsters out there wherever. You don't buy that Franco grew up in the fucking hood.
I get what he was going for, I guess. The main direction was, and what I liked about this is you think about like New Orleans and like the voodoo huckster, right? Tourists goes down to New Orleans and they want to try to go off the main road of like the main Mardi Gras road and be like, oh, I want to find a voodoo doctor and get like red or whatever, and it's like that mystique around the voodoo witch doctor, where I think that James Franco was trying to embody, or at least Harmony Korine wanted the gangster mystic. In reality, you have a couple of cities in Florida, like Panama City, all these college kids, Ivy League kids go down to just partake in hedonism to the nth degree.
It's really messing up with my spring break. What is there to do here other than go to the bars or the beach?
It's just for the debauchery. Right. They're just trying to feel something because they know in a week's time, in a school week's time, in 5 days, they're going to go home and they're just going to try to forget it. But it's always going to be that thing that they blew 12 guys at once in the back of their head, right?
Right.
Just for the experience. And for guys, maybe the same, right? Blew 5 guys, 10 guys, and then went back and be like,
yeah, we don't discriminate.
Yeah, whatever, whatever your kink is, we don't kink shame. But there are these like gangsters, Robin Hoods of the Florida South that are just there to like rob these people. Was trying to do that, but a caricature of that. And so that's why I think this performance was just so over the top, where I'm like, okay, I'll give it a pass. It is detracting because what the girls are doing are so grounded, because you believe that these 4 bored girls, and they're all parts of like one centralized computer, right? 4 parts to a whole. You have the Christian voice of reason. You have the bridge between that with Rachel Karine's character, where it's just like, yeah, I'm the good girl, but I'm like 4 steps a little bit dirtier than that. And she's the one that gets like fucked up the most, right? And then you just have the crazy.
She's just kind of following the good time.
Exactly. She's riding the wave.
That would be really cool.
She has that like one less checkpoint of morality to be like, I'm gonna really experience this and let it inside me in a couple ways. And then you have the other 2 girls that are just like, they're actual sociopaths.
Oh yeah, let's just fucking rob people. Get down on your knees, bitch.
Yeah, and they face fuck Franco with a fucking silencer, and it's just like the best scene in the movie.
Outside when they're all outside shooting guns, and one of them has a silencer but is making a bunch of noise.
Right.
But anyways,
it is a hard juxtaposition between his performance and a very grounded and believable 4 girls that were former Disney princesses that are just being completely destroyed as far as image goes. But I think that it was just like a necessary linchpin for their career. Harmony Korine was super impressed that he's like, I usually work with my friends and all these like, freak show type people where everyone's just like a mess and I'm like dragging people to set. He's like, say what you will about the Disney machine, but everyone was on time. Yeah.
Ready for spring break. The rest of them were believable. I love the scene where he takes him, like where he first gets him, and so he just takes him to the ghetto, and so he takes him to that pool hall, like deep in the hood. And you have these 4 white girls in bikinis, which they pretty much have on the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, at one point, Rachel Korine had booze poured all over her before she went to jail. So she had to be real fucking sticky the rest of the time.
I'm thinking of it from like my dad lenses, and I'm like, they smell so bad. Like, just give them a shower.
Yeah. They stay in those bikinis for like 2-3 days. But they're just in the middle of the hood, and they're outside of Faith. Like, they're fine with it. Like, yeah, whatever. We're here in the hood, till learning how to fuck everybody up to the point that they take out the main gangster in the end.
Right. It's a completely non-linear film because there's so much flash forward, flashback. Time is not, it's not on the table. Like, it doesn't matter because it has that dreamlike quality, but it's on purpose, right? It's not sloppy storytelling. It's, you're in a dream, or even more apt, you're in a drug experience. What being on like mushrooms or acid or any of that shit kind of is, right? Because some things, like, you don't know if you're in the past, if you're in the present, if you're in the future, and that kind of succeeds in capturing those moments as far as like when you're on those type of things, like your brain rationale, your perception of time.
I wouldn't know, John. I've never
You're
done
a
those things.
Fucking liar.
You're a terrible, terrible person. You probably belong down at Spring Break.
Spring Break forever.
Slowed down scenes. The soundtrack started off hard and well matched with, I don't know who does the song, but like it opens with that techno song that went so well with the intro that it was really well matched. And I didn't notice that in the second half of the movie as much. But in that first half, like, yeah, the spring break, the everyone dancing on the beach and topless and being crazy, and the way it was shot went really well with techno music and like Molly, like it really captured that idea of like how it feels to be fucked up.
Yeah.
And in that kind of scenario.
Yeah, the music, like, if we're just jumping to the score real quick, it was a collaboration between Skrillex, and then you have Cliff Martinez, who usually does scores for, like, Steven Soderbergh films. So those clashes of genres, I think, are really good. Like, it really carries you through this experience. Because if the music or the songs kind of faltered at all, I think this would have really fallen flat on its face.
It was a necessary part of the experience.
It checks off all those like indie film benchmarks. Like you have that beautiful one take, which I guess was just a fucking nightmare to capture. But then the girls, after they make the decision to get to spring break, they're short on cash, so they're gonna rob like a chicken shack or something.
Yeah.
So they steal one of their teachers like El Camino, and it's like the three mains get in this car, and like it's just a phenomenal shot. It's a great like cinematic feat, really, because you're just getting this through line of the getaway driver, like her profile, but through that you're going from window to window, and all these things are happening. You're seeing the heist in real time. It's kind of one of my favorite like shots.
Oh yeah, no, that shot was very well done, and I was saying that when I watched it, how cool it was.
Yeah.
I think she even pulls around the corner, so you see another window, and see them through the window and what they're doing, robbing people. But yeah, let's talk about that El Camino. Why the hell did they burn it?
I know.
Like they were borrowing a car. I outside of, again, Harmony Korine, and the only other explanation is precursor to who they were going to become. Like, we robbed a bank. You got to burn the fucking car and destroy the evidence, even though it's like hers and she's fucking the professor. We have to destroy the evidence.
Well, I remember watching it the first time, like, oh, you're burning the car because of fingerprints. And then, spoiler alert, you get to the end and they just literally Max Payne murder an entire villa worth of people, of gangsters, with just two skinny chicks in bikinis. And I'm like, and then they just like, I think they drop the guns at one point and walk away, or at least like kiss one of the dead bodies and then go. And I'm just like, okay, so you don't care about fingerprints. So
no.
Yes, I agree. It, again, dreamlike quality. I think just jumping into Harmony Korine's brain, like daring to, it's just like, I wanted to set El Camino on fire, because I think it's cool.
Let me find a reason.
Yeah, I think one of the major successes of the film, I'm fucking talking about this film like it's a work of art, like it's fucking Lawrence of Arabia or something, and it's like, it's so surface level, and oh man, that's like the magic trick of this film, though. It makes it either challenges like movie critics to just be like, whatever, Harmony Korine, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, or to like serious thinkers of cinema to be like, no, there's something here. What I think is really interesting about it is how amoral it's portrayed, because again, we love to play this game, right, Coleman? In a lesser movie, the girls either get a after credit scene, which not necessarily like during the credits, but like after the story ends, where they're now like 30 years later, they're like moms, or they're like upstanding citizens, like one's a politician or some bullshit, right?
Right.
Or they get caught. The police come and arrest them right away. And that's probably the most realistic outcome for these people. But he shuts the fucking camera off right when all this craziness goes down. He doesn't want to tell you. He's just like, okay, I made the film, but I'm not going to spell it out for you. You fucking pick your own adventure, and I'm going to turn the tables on you. I'm going to ask you how this ends. And that's really cool.
Well, and let's go into the phone calls.
Yeah.
Faith calling her grandma. And this was hilarious because they're in the middle of, again, just debauchery. And you hear her talking to her grandma like, hi, Grandma. Everyone here is so nice. And it's such an amazing place. And I wish you were here with me. And her friends are like, they just robbed a bank and they're doing all kinds of coke and all kinds of shit in the next room. She's like, I really wish you could come here with me, Grandma.
Which they were
It's
which
so
they were
great.
snorting B12, by the way, just to get that kick, but not snort cocaine.
Oh, yeah.
It was in
Good to
Selena
know.
Gomez's writer that she actually got real cocaine, so maybe 3 of the girls.
Yeah, of course. The Christian chick was the one that was all hopped up. And then going to that end scene where, you know, the 2 bad girls both call their moms to be like, I love you so much, Mom, and I want to turn my life around, and I want to be good now, and I want to go back to school and just do good things. And then cut to them walking into Gucci Mane's lair and murdering everybody.
And spoiler alert, I love that alien goes down in the first 5 seconds of that scene.
Immediately.
So good. Such a good decision, right? Because, like,
yes.
At first, like, the first time I watched it, I'm like, oh, shit. Like, well, what is their motivation to still do this? Well, because they shot their friend. And because they like this shit. They are fucking sociopaths. Look at their shit.
And they're going back and they got both people shit now. They just got a fucking Lambo.
Because Alien is a fucking poser, right? Him dying right away and them just fucking walking over him and just taking everyone out tells you everything you need to know about the mind state of these 2 women. They are absolute sociopaths. This was about them the whole time. It wasn't about... They were in control the entire time. There's a play on control where they take the guns because, oh, it's cute that the chicks get the guns, right? And he like lets down his defenses for a second, and then what happens? He winds up deep throating a fucking barrel. Two barrels.
Yeah, and them right there being like, what if we just fucking kill you right now?
They
what
weren't
if we
kidding.
Kill you, and all this shit'll be ours. No one's gonna miss Alien.
Right. Yeah, you're just a fucking little like dick zit on Florida. You're a nothing. We're the real shit. And they were telling you that then. And that's what's so cool because they were right. Like, he just goes out like a chump. He doesn't want to go in there. That whole fucking montage of him playing the sad song on the piano. Oh, I gotta kill my friend. And he's like clicking shit. He is worried. He is shitting his pants currently in that scene. He doesn't want to go there. He knows he's gonna die. Yeah. They're like, fuck it, let's go. Bloodshed. If it's mine or theirs, who cares? Let's kill some motherfuckers, right?
There's no better way to shed that Disney princess aura that you had.
This was like coming off of the Vanessa Hudgens vagina selfie, or like she like sexted, I think, Zac Efron because they were dating at the point, and it like got out there, right? So she was like already the fallen Disney princess, right? And Selena Gomez was coming off of like Wizards of Waverly Place. So she was like on top of her game. So this was like a huge risk. So I understand what she's like, I got to bow out. Like, you guys are good. I'm going to get on the bus before we go to the strip club.
I'm going to call my grandma.
Yeah, exactly. And it was basically this whole film was Vanessa Hudgens just flipping off the camera, and it was perfect. It was the emancipation of that culture, which was not only captured so well because like Harmony Korine was just like, I'm along for the ride. If you guys want to just like fucking go ham. Like, he was just like cashing checks at that point.
What I said earlier, they're all just so believable, you know, in their roles, especially Vanessa and Ashley Benson. Like, they captured it. That crazy girl, we don't give a shit. We're gonna just fucking do what we want and take what we want. And fuck you.
This was their natural born killers. This was Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis. Like, they're like, our career's kind of weird, so we're just gonna do this thing. And you know, $5 million budget, because obviously blacklights cost $1 million of the budget. Benoit Debie, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He was the cinematographer for a lot of Gaspar Noé films, but he also did this. But Coleman, what was his like major push for how he wanted this film shot?
He wanted it to look like it was shot with or through Skittles. And he succeeded.
So funny, right? Because there's so much of this that he played with, like, different grains of film, because you have the handheld of the actual, like, spring break montages, like, especially in the beginning, where it looks like it's shot on someone's phone in 2012, like it's low res. As you settle in, that's when the unbelievable blacklight or the Skittles really become prevalent as the drugs kick in, because you start this film sober, you walk on the beach, everything looks like shit, everything is just like, oh, that's too close, and then but it shows you that, and you're like, this is reality. You see every dude's sweaty armpit, and you're just like, oh fuck, like, especially in a post-COVID world, you're like, oh my god, this is a nightmare. And then as the film goes on, it becomes more stylized, and it becomes more of a story, and it becomes more of a fantasy, and you're just like, oh my god, I'm not watching a movie anymore, I'm watching a fucking pop song, if a pop song was on the silver screen. Let's talk about the Britney Spears montage.
I mean, they started, because I think the girls were singing it beforehand on a bench, like before they came, when they were talking about spring break. Like, I think they were singing some Britney song earlier in the movie. And then cut to later, and you mentioned Alien playing his song. And this is a fun part too, because somehow this gangster that grew up with no parents or no family or anything is amazing at the piano. And not only that, he's like, let me play a little, I don't know, amazing song by a little artist named Britney Spears. But a Britney Spears song, like, the most beautifully it's ever sounded on the piano.
Every time.
Yeah, and then start singing it, and then they all start singing along with him.
That's the slow-mo part, where they're just, like, cutting in them randomly dancing on the beach with them actually just, like, committing the most horrific acts ever in slow-mo. It's just such a great...
Right. And that's when they start being their own gangsters, going and getting money and robbing people and holding up spring breakers, and he pistol whips the shit out of somebody for no apparent reason. I don't know what that guy did. He was like
just
tied
spit
up.
blood in slow-mo. What are you talking about? It's so awesome, because Vanessa Hudgens' character of Candy is telling you she is the real deal at screen one, where she's just like in the middle of class, she's drawing this big dick and she's just going down on it, and she's just like doing her thing is like blowing someone's brains out, right? It's very like actual gangster, like she's just like boom, or she's like finger gun shooting people, and that is like played throughout the entire movie because it's real. It's not his look at my shit, I got guns, who cares? Do you know how to use them? Well, I guess not, because you just handed them over to two freshman college students. He didn't make an expose of spring break. He didn't make a documentary about spring break. This is definitely a stylized, dreamlike version of this experience that some people metaphorically go through. And it's not just like, oh, if you didn't go through spring break, you didn't know. Like, we all went to high school. We all, some of us went to college. And at some point you go through these type of scenarios, and you kind of navigate through that, and you kind of find out what kind of a person you are. Yes, you're going to try to forget a lot of that, but you also learn a lot from those experiences of just like, let's strip away humanity and navigate through pure hedonism, and what kind of a person comes out the other side. And that is depicted perfectly in something like this, because the decision of playing like a Britney Spears song during watching visually something so horrific, it's so much more on point than I think even Harmony Korine anticipated. Because you think about real life spring break interactions. These people go down there for debauchery, And sometimes it turns out horribly, right? Overdose situations, there's rape situations. The theme is to erase your inhibitions, right? But what's always playing, the MTV culture, especially of the time, what is playing during that? It's Britney Spears, it's NSYNC, it's Backstreet Boys. You're listening to these safe PG or G rated artists while these horrible things are happening, either to you or around you. That is the closest to pure hedonism that anywhere in the world gets to. Because I don't think that, you have your like beaches in Greece or your, whatever in the EU, but mostly it is known to have these experiences of this ilk, to go down to like these destinations in the US, and it's just like, what's the person that comes out on the other end? And that is, I think, the greatest success of this film.
As far as how it's filmed and what you see for the main people, yes. Because the main people were sociopaths from the beginning.
Half of them.
And so, yeah, like the spring break experience was nothing, it had nothing to do with who they were and what they did. They were just crazy bitches. Spring break forever means let's kill gangsters. So I think that the peripheral definitely captured the feeling and the vibe of what spring break is, what it's supposed to be, at least in our minds, right? Because we're of the MTV generation. We're of the years in the 90s and the early aughts where MTV was always down at spring break. What we saw is what was happening on the screen here.
Dan Cortez hosted Spring Break in 2021. It just wouldn't happen, right? It's
no, everyone would be upset and offended, and some guy would be like, she pulled her boob out and I feel triggered. I'm uncomfortable right now.
Well, and I mean, maybe rightfully so. I mean, now there's like a voice for that kind of shit, because who knows what type of abuse we even saw on camera in the MTV era.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I mean, how much awfulness went down, and I'm sure a lot of it in those situations. A balance here as well, because at least in that time frame, like, yes, there was bad stuff I'm sure people hated, but there is also a ton of people that are like, this is what I fucking signed up for.
Everyone was giving this film shit when it came out, being a misogynistic, leering female form. And I couldn't disagree with that more, because yes, it is portraying that side of things in a very real way, but this is like really a tale of female empowerment. Like, it is, it is like, if you just fucking like pay attention and have eyeballs, the same way that women nowadays have kind of taken back their sexuality and like made a living with like OnlyFans and shit, right? It's the celebration of the female form and turning that into a commodity where the woman can actually benefit from. Men have commodified women to sell cigarettes and bologna and shit like that. They just, we're going to sell a product.
Right.
We're going to put a dame on there, where nowadays, which is kind of great in a way, women have figured out, no, this is my body. This is my shit. I'm going to make money off of it. Where I think that Spring Breakers is a film that maybe came out 6 years, 7 years too early, where this would really fucking kill to an audience now. The broke take is, this is a misogynistic look of what a woman is. The woke take is, this is a female empowerment film.
100%. And I mean, it is a male empowerment film, right? Like, they're the queen bitches the whole time. And even when you put them in those uncomfortable situations, like, they come out on top.
Yeah.
You know, they're in the hood, but they're fine being in the hood because they're just like, I mean, they're not scared. They're just like, yeah, I'm here. What the fuck? This guy should be a masochistic piece of shit. Like, they put him in his place, you know, and they end up coming out on top, killing everybody, taking care of everyone, and just being like the boss bitches of the entire thing. But if you were to make it today, you still couldn't make it today. Like, for the theme of the film, yes, that's the woke take. But for all of the toplessness and the, you know, pouring beers all over Rachel Korine and like all the other pieces of this movie, like you couldn't put those pieces in the movie. And people would lose the point of the film in the snippets.
Yeah.
You know, they'd go, oh, but there was this. Many people don't pay attention to anything as a whole anymore, at least in these cultures. Like, they look at the snippets, and the snippet of something overpowers the general theme or the general story.
Is it a perfect film? Absolutely not. Is it a silly film? Yes, you could take it that way. This film is for people that just really want to get lost in an experience. People that have done hard drugs or at least hallucinogens. It's almost like a club. If you have certain experiences in your life, you understand why this hits you differently. I would recommend this for people that just really want to see surface level people portrayed in a way that's interesting, because people that are always surface level in films, the jock, the hot cheerleader, they're always depicted as parodies. This is a film about people that care about what the appearance looks like and what the experience feels like, surface level. But I'm going to not only show you what's underneath, but I'm going to put a bullet in your head with what's underneath. And that is daring, that's bold, and that's all that Harmony Korine asks of his actors and everyone else that's involved in the filmmaking process. Just be bold. That's all he wants. Selena Gomez was overthinking this shit. She's just like, should I cry? Yeah. Should I do this? Should I do that? And no fault of her own. She is from a Disney machine, and good on her. She made her money, and fucking great, right? And she had the self-awareness to want to do a film like this, and he's just like, yeah. She was like, no. Should I cry? Sure. Should I react? Whatever you want to do. Just fucking do it. Would you act this way in real life? Well, yeah. Why are we still talking? Fucking do it, right? Coleman, who would you recommend this film for, and why would you recommend this film?
I don't know. I will say, first off, if you have made it through with us this far, you should go watch the Harmony Korine interviews with David Letterman, because they are as entertaining and weird as shit as this movie, if not more entertaining. Like, weird and awkward, and you can't quite tell if it's intentional or not. He's really weird and gives really weird answers. Harmony Korine, when I watch those interviews, I can't quite tell if he's intentionally being awkward or he just is that. He might awkward.
Just be a genius,
you know,
right?
Yeah, but it seems like he's trying to give weird, awkward, funny answers and not answer things directly, and it plays. I don't know with him, which is much like his movies. I really don't know who I would recommend the movie to.
Sometimes there's a performance out there that is like outside of the movie that they're in. James Franco is in like
outer fucking space, y'all. I'm not from this planet.
He's like, everyone's given their all, and then James Franco is just doing like an impression, like a Vegas impression of Riff Raff. And you're like, that doesn't fit, because this movie's smart, right? There's like things going on, and there's structure, and there's like ethereal tones. And then there's Franco being riffraff, and you're like, how am I supposed to compartmentalize this?
Disney stars just chuck that that image that they had before. Yeah, and get paid and like fuck people up. I recommend this for you. I think I would be cautious. Not cautious. I would only recommend this to certain friends of mine. Like, I know you like this kind of movie, or I know you like movies, or I know you'll appreciate the weird. And, you know, I said from the beginning, it's very different from the other Harmony Korine vehicles, but I would recommend it to my friends that enjoyed a Kids or a Gummo and appreciated movies like that, where there's just weirdness to it. And I'd be like, all right, well, you should check this out.
Before I watched Kids, I like saw reviews and stuff. Even as a child, I was just like, you know, everyone's just like, oh, this is just bullshit. It's just slapdash nothingness. And then I watched it and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I feel like you are on the same level as that. Really diehard, like Harmony Korine. Like, this guy is a fucking madman, but in the best way, right? Yeah. He makes films that once it's over, it makes you want to take that play bar and just reset it. But then you're just like, I just watched a fucking Harmony Korine film and I want to watch it again. Because I want to know if this guy is full of shit or if this guy is in the know. And then you watch it again and you're like, I want to watch it again. Because
it depends on the film, or I never want to have sex again. I watched Kids at 18 years old, high as shit, when AIDS was the worst word you could say to anybody. And I finished that movie and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I saw Harmony Korine go on a bunch of like press junkets and everyone's just like, well, this was like the unofficial sequel to Kids. This was like them growing up and blah. He was just like, I didn't think of Kids once. I just fucking made a movie.
It's a totally separate movie.
He's like, I just made a movie. Like, I'm not going to tell you what to think. This is my movie, and that's it. And it was like, oh, you just are like a purveyor of truth cinematically, and you just like know truth. And he's like, fuck truth. I don't know truth. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm just making films. But Harmony Korine fans are so fun because they're just like, oh, well, you know, I really got this one because it's an indictment on blah. And he's just like, no, it's not. I just wanted to make a commercial movie. I hope this one makes money. And everyone's like, wait, what?
Well, it's like very similar to just art, where you come up with the whole backstory and you can have like someone eat 9 days of Taco Bell and a hot sauce and fucking shit on a canvas, and then people will pick it apart and the genius of what the artist was thinking when this happened. And it's the same idea versus just like, I just want to make shit, man. And so I made something and it's fun and don't think so deeply.
This is the mini golf of cinema, right? It's just like, oh, mini golf's a lot of fun, but cosmic mini golf? That's the shit.
Spring break forever.
Spring break forever, bitches.
If you want to talk more about Spring Break, not the movie, because, not Spring Breakers, just the experience you had on Spring Break, because that's really...
Or you want to take us on Spring Break.
100%. I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here for hedonism, debauchery. We don't care about truth. We don't care about films. Follow us on Twitter. You could find me at Jon the Host. You could also follow this very podcast at The Cult of Films. Mr. Coleman Yeti. I couldn't think of a better person to go on Spring Break with. Where can everyone find you?
After Spring Break, where I take you on a deep, long, dark trip. You decide what that means. You can find me at Coleman Yeti on Instagram and on the Twitters. You can find me right here on The Cult of Films, making it very much better.
Oh my God.
You can also find me on occasionally on the channel Cascade Backcountry 2 to 3 times a year, but also making that channel much better.
Till next time, look at my shit.